first time at WAC. And many of you I recognize from LIPS, of course, and maybe Immersa in the past. So it's great to be here and to share with you the Polynesian Navigating Challenge that we've developed with FISC at FISC Planetarium. Now, before I actually get started into the challenge, I first want to acknowledge that a lot of you have done this before, and this means that for those of you who have done it before, you will be the first group to have done it twice, because we only ever do it once in the classes, in the classroom. And then after that time, we don't see those students again to do it again. So I would love to solicit your feedback at the end of it, and I actually have a little feedback form that I'll be sharing afterward that I would love to hear some more critical feedback from those of you who've done it more than once. Now, before we go into breakout rooms, I'll be breaking you out into rooms, groups of 4. And I'm going to begin with a little presentation on what this is all about. So let's see if I can get this. There we go. Everybody can see it? All right. So this is the Polynesian Voyaging Challenge. What the goal of this was, well, actually, let me just let the slides sort of tell the story. And I'll tell you sort of why it came into existence. So first, what you will be doing is that we will be breaking you out into teams of 4. So you will be joined by 3 team members to embark on a voyage to explore and discover distant lands. You'll each play a different role on your Polynesian voyage. You'll either be the astronomer, the fisher, the shipwright, or the experienced traveler. So make sure you each have a different role in your group. And you'll find that working together is essential for your quest. Now, it will start off with a little bit of reading so you understand your character. And it'll go through a sort of ebb and flow of you reading, your prompts, and then being able to make a decision with the group. And you can fail a few different ways. But no failure is permanent. So definitely work together. So as a little bit of background, in the class, you would have already had a little bit of background on how latitude and longitude, changing your latitude and longitude on Earth affects the way the stars look, the way the rising sun and moon work, and I'm sure this is all familiar to you as planetarians, that the full moon is opposite the sun. And you would have learned a little bit about wayfinding already. That being that the Polynesians would use various different tricks, and that those things were ways that they would help to navigate across the open ocean. Things like how birds and fish would influence how they could go fishing and figure out where they were a little bit, tell how ocean currents hit their boat to tell where they were in the ocean, and navigating between the multitude of islands in the ocean. You'd also know what a star compass is, that being that the stars rise and set in mirrored positions around the horizon. And that star compasses tell you the rising and setting locations of stars from different latitudes. So here's a star compass from Noah Thompson of the Polynesian Voyaging Society. And we also ask everybody to bring a web-capable device, which I know you all have, which makes this the perfect activity to do during the fall or the spring. And whenever you're in quarantine, you can be doing this in breakout rooms, just like we'll be doing today with your groups. And then afterward, or even during the activity, we ask the students to record what they're doing. In this case, I'm not going to ask you to record what you're doing, just for the sake of brevity. But it allows us to know after the fact who went through which routes and what decisions did they make and why did they make it. And I'll share a little bit of those after the fact. Some of the responses after the fact from previous implementation with groups. So this is only about a 1-year-old activity, but it came about. Hold on. I think I may have. Yeah, I think I may have cut out a little bit of the slides. So I will share that I actually saw a Polynesian voyaging show a long time ago, and it took the form of a analog slideshow projection, and then it got converted into digital when FISC upgraded in 2013. But I never knew how to actually present that show, so I decided to make the challenge much more interactive. And that's where this presentation is going, is that you will now be engaging in different characters in circa 1000 AD or CE to reenact a voyage of epic proportions across the ocean. And in this way, you'll actually be engaging with the different contents of wayfinding without us having to didact at you how wayfinding works. And so I really was hoping that this would be a better way for students to engage in the content. And so to that end, here is the URL. And so if everybody can make sure to visit the URL, I shortened it to tinyurl.com/fiscpolynav, and I will copy and paste that into the chat. Oops. Copy link, and let's just paste it. There we go. So everybody make sure to go to that URL. And before we split into breakout rooms, I want to make sure if I've explained everything enough that once we get there, it'll make sense. If there are any questions, now is the time to ask them. I will be visiting each breakout room to try to help you along if there are any questions. And I might even ask John Keller if he's going to be there to help, influence and go around the different activities, because I know he's done this in the past. So for those of you who are in breakout rooms and you've done this in the past, and help your group along to understand the activity. But I think that'll be enough. So we all ready? Make sure you all get to the URL. Make sure you all have a different persona. You need to be in groups of 4. And well, here we go. Let's see, there's 50 people now, so we're going to split into breakout rooms of 13. All right, have fun. All right, we're having the breakout rooms close and come back.
People are arriving.
Everybody should be back in 20 seconds.
All right, do we get a countdown?
13, 12, 11, 10, 5, woo-wee.
I see Liz.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Raise your hand if you finished the activity and you successfully made it to Hawaii. All right, I'm sorry for those of you who did not. I figured that maybe you got very, very close. How many of you failed? Go ahead and raise your hand if you died.
The temptation.
The temptation, yep.
I
and I do want to ask another little thing, which is if you went to Kiribati, go ahead and raise your hand. Versus if you went to Nuku Hiva, raise your hand. All right. It's interesting piece of feedback for me to share is that when we actually took forms of all the different students, we did this with 2 classes, each of about 100 or more students each. And that means we got something like 50 different feedback, 50 different group feedback forms, and they went exactly 50-50 on to Nuku Hiva or Kiribati. So for me, that was the ultimate proof that I had balanced it properly to know whether you should go to Nuku Hiva or Kiribati. Is that they, out of 100, out of 50, it was about 25 going to each. It was 25 going to each. So that was really encouraging. Sorry for those of you who didn't finish, but it's actually free and open to use, and you can do the journey as any of the other members of the group as many times as you want. It's completely free to use, and I encourage you to use it in your groups, or I would also love to get your feedback on ways to make it better, how it went. So to that end, here's a feedback form that I would love if you would to fill out and share with me, especially if you've done this twice. I would love to know your experience. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to have to copy the URL. There we go. And paste it in the chat. All right. Now, for those of you who are wondering, I have a sitemap, which this one's a little bit outdated. I'm trying to make a new one after all the positive feedback I got from Lips. I'm going to make one that's a little bit more interesting flowchart. But I made these for all 4 characters. I started off on like a whiteboard trying to design this, a chalkboard, and then eventually just saved it into Excel like this. And there's numerous sources, all the blue things you see in here, all the different sources I went to for different, even tourism websites for Fiji was a lot of use. The form says we need permission. Oh, thank you. Here, let me fix that right now. Their way to grant permission. Well, I might just send out the link after I'm done with this short bit of the presentation and then adjust the permissions. But for the sake of doing a little bit of the feedback while I have the time to share, I'm just going to do that here, which is that I really like it with this presentation that if you do get to use it with your groups, I would love for you to reach out to me and let me know how it went. That here's some of the theory behind it is, in my opinion, that since the players actually have to engage with each other, they can learn the material much more quickly. And I've sort of seeded each prompt with information about each other's prompts. So if there's one person who's dominating the conversation, other people know what that person is seeing, and that person knows what the other person is seeing. And also sometimes the person who might be dominating the conversation has incorrect information. And there's no faster way to get the right answer than to give the wrong answer. So that sort of helps in this sort of group style, choose your own adventure. And it also shares a lot of the culture, which I thought was a big, very, very important thing, because the original show about Polynesian navigating is about the Polynesian Voyaging Society and about reclaiming the rich Polynesian culture. So this is very much like a celebration of Polynesian culture. And to that end, I really wanted to share that with the students in a way that I thought was more palpable than maybe they experienced by watching like Moana, for instance. One of the things you may have noticed is that it's easy just to click through the prompts really quickly. So if you make a mistake, but that's why we sort of assign a progress sheet. And also if you, I sort of said that it's possible to fail, so people don't want to just click through really fast as well, is that the fact that some of you end up in groups of 3, you notice that there was a little bit of redundancy in roles, that maybe you didn't make as many mistakes as you might have thought you would. But it also just allows, the activity is okay to be done in 3 or 5. It's just more fun with 4. I definitely want to thank Mr. John Schiller, who's been on this call, but now my department is actually doing something that all the FISC people have had to flee off to, and I got out of it because I'm doing this. I really want to pitch that when I came in really worried, saying I need to do this presentation and I can't do it, so I'm making a website. John really helped me set up that website. He's a postbaccalaureate in astronomy, a really dedicated planetarium, and wants to be doing visualization like this. As well as the different professors who helped make the original show and encouraged me, and the Polynesian Voyaging Society. The Hokulea was instilled as the first national treasure of Hawaii, so I really want to thank them. And that's all I have for now. So thank you, guys.
Well, thank you very much.